This is going to be a little bit of a shorter carve and share video since I'm just carving the border around this, which is all the same chips, so I don't want to bore you with watching the same stuff too many times over and over. But I'm starting with the border because I do these borders by hand in pencil instead of with ink like the rest of the pattern is, and so I don't want to be handling it and carving the rest of the stuff and then wearing off the pencil lines as I go. So start with this part of the pattern and not have to worry about that. The rest of it's in ink, so it's not going anywhere. And apologize ahead of time if I go a bit off camera. These 14-inch plates are a little bit tricky to keep in position. You'll notice I've got all of these with some kind of smaller chips cut out in the middle. That's because they're not very large chips, but they have proven to be big enough for the grain direction to make a difference and start causing some issues for me. So I just went ahead and carved some relief chips out of all of them to help prevent any issues with the grain running or chipping. Usually that technique is more of an issue for larger chips, and you can't really get the width of the blade all the way down. So I sometimes end up needing to do it for these borders and sometimes not. I often end up with a little bit of remnants in the bottom of these chips because as it's the deepest part of the chip, but it's also a tight corner there that I've got to kind of draw the knife up as I come around. So just a little bit of touch-up needed on those oftentimes. And as I mentioned in past videos, for something like this where I'm going around a circle and the sections don't really interact with each other, I'll do one side and then the opposite side with the same design so that I can kind of get used to the way each chip behaves relative to the grain. And if I notice anything or need to make any adjustments, I can do it right away rather than going around in order and then forgetting anything that I noticed on the opposite side. think there's really not a whole lot of commentary needed for this border, aside from having a few back-to-back chips in each segment. I think it's pretty straightforward as far as any techniques and just keeping track of chip order, making sure you're doing back-to-backs cuts immediately. I will say these are on the large size, on the large side for how thin the plate is down here. I wouldn't really want to do any deeper chips out here on the rim. Getting a little bit of interesting grain behavior on this ridge because it's almost in line with the grain, but not quite. You'll notice I've got the paper on the plate here, and it's just covering up the names and date. This is a wedding plate that is not going to be received until after I expect this video to be published, so I just want to make sure that the recipients don't happen across the video before receiving the plate. This ridge is going to be much nicer since it's almost in line with the grain, but it's the carving direction is with the grain, which will produce nicer cuts and it won't be as fussy for ripping out. Might be able to hear that sound of the wood. I think it's a little on the dry side. I've been having a few of the chips kind of making that really dry, crunchy sound. So before I do the rest of this plate, I might see about hydrating it up a little bit so I don't get this kind of rough cut on the inside there. But just got a few more of these to do. We'll call it there for now in this video.